So if you watch Early Mornings LALATE, there was a secret bill revealed during that taping. A secret bill coming on Tuesday, and I had no idea what's going on. So I had to ask someone. And of course, I went to the top source for something like this, the Calcino. I went there this morning for brunch and saw Sirloin. I'm like, what do you know about this secret bill for Tuesday? He's like, from who? I'm like, from McConnell. He's like, McConnell? I'm like, yeah, McConnell. Oh my goodness, I haven't heard. I'm like, I have a feeling I know what it is. Oh, what is it? I don't want to spoil it for you. He looked at me, he's like, you're not a cow, stop that. Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm here, you're here, and there's a secret bill coming on Tuesday, so I hope you have your toast toasted and your butter buttering because we need a hot cup of coffee for this one. What is the secret bill, and why has no one else picked up on this? This is like a real Agatha Christie romance novel, just without the romance. I appreciate you for joining me on a Sunday morning. I have breaking news, it's great news across the board, a lot of stuff for you to be so excited about. So I'm so glad that you have joined me this Sunday morning. I will be going over breaking news since Early Mornings LLA taped. So there's a lot of stuff going on today. Go to the FEUDS channel, subscribe. 295,000. We're 5,000 away from 300,000 followers. Let's get it. No one has ever done this. We're breaking every YouTube record. Let's keep on going. Purple Power community. Also, like this video. In this video, I will be going over first, numbers. So I'll be going over MSC, the real incredible push to get MSC, multiple stimulus checks. Second, hazard pay, back on, baby. Third, retroactive FPUC, pushing it more retroactively. Fourth, executive orders amid poll numbers for Trump. Why executive orders are needed for him more than ever right now, and why you should be using leverage to get them done. Then I'll be going to that secret bill. What's going on Tuesday, and how is there a secret bill on top of the bill that's being introduced on Wednesday? This is not the Wednesday bill. This is the Tuesday bill. I mean, this is just Sunday. Maybe there'll be a bill tomorrow as well. Next, Lindsey Graham actually comes out in favor overnight about bigger packages. He wants a bigger package. Ironic. Interesting. And then finally, Nancy Pelosi. I want to go over something that's sort of indicative of her playing games, and it's about language, so stay tuned for that. A lot of breaking news and really exciting news. So let's start with the major breaking news overnight, which is MSC. A campaign that I launched here on Friday is in full storm, and it's based upon MSC, multiple stimulus checks. What's important to understand in this campaign is the following. The current stimulus package was supposed to be passed in July, and that a bunch of negotiators, including Steve Mnuchin and Nancy Pelosi, are trying to manifest this as relief for people in October. It's not. It's relief intended for July. There was supposed to be a third stimulus package by the time at which we sit now in November, and that stimulus package was supposed to give you relief for the fall and prepare you for the winter months. By all accounts, this bill that they're working on isn't going to cut it for you. It may cut it for salary raises for government officials. And so I launched MSC, and I launched it based upon the exact words of what Senator Harris said back in May. She said back in May the following statements. First, $1,200 a single month doesn't pay for anything in this country. $2,000 is needed. Second, one single check for 1 month isn't going to cut it. She said, ultimately, that's a waste of people's time and a waste of legislative effort. You need $2,000 every month for 6 months, at least. That's a start, just at least 6 months, and that it will continue thereafter until unemployment decreases or the pandemic's gone away. So let me recap that. That's $2,000 at least for 6 months. And then after that, we look and see where's the unemployment level, what's going on with the pandemic. That was May. Guess which month this is now? 6 months since then. Guess what's happened since then? The unemployment rate has not dropped. In fact, it has still been as bad at 33 something weeks, at 800,000 new jobless claims announced every Thursday morning at about 5 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So that benchmark has not changed. Second, has the pandemic gone away? No. So hence, we are still at the benchmark. This is what Harris said. She specifically went into details of why $1,200 doesn't cut it. And this was at a time that the Democrats, under Nancy Pelosi, were trying to push how wonderful $1,200 is. Harris said, hey, it doesn't solve rent. It doesn't solve utilities. It doesn't solve food. It doesn't pay enough. And now, as we sit here in October, Steve Mnuchin and Nancy Pelosi are trying to push this false narrative that one stimulus check, and more about that amount in a second, is going to get you through something. It's not going to get you through anything. The original draft of the CARES Act in March, 2 months before Harris's bill was introduced by her, Bernie Sanders, and Ed Markey, called for multiple stimulus checks because at the time the pandemic was supposed to be at least 3 months of lockdown. We knew in March there was a pandemic hitting. We didn't know what it was, but we knew we were going to be on lockdown for 3 months. So congressional leaders wrote the CARES Act, initial draft with a stimulus check for March, April, May. When they went to the final revisions, Nancy Pelosi got her hand on and said, you know what, I'm taking out those multiple stimulus checks because I want money for state and local. She took out your multiple stimulus checks because she doesn't think you should have money. She wants to talk about you having money but doesn't want to give you money. So gone were those multiple stimulus checks, and she said we'll get to it later. Another thing that she said she would get to later is FPUC, which was set to expire during her vacation in the month of July. So gone were those multiple stimulus checks. And when Senator Harris came around with Senator Sanders and Senator Markey in May, 60 days later, she said, you know what? 1 month has passed. We haven't seen a stimulus check for the month of April that you're on lockdown. We're still on lockdown in May. We need $2,000. And I'm introducing a bill with the 3 senators who are all Democratic. And this is what we needed. And that anything less is categorically a waste of time. It was absolutely one of the most comprehensive analysis of the situation economically, financially, and sociologically. And she made the remarks especially on Chris Hayes' interview on MSNBC in May at the time. Well, as we sit here today, Steve Mnuchin and Nancy Pelosi were negotiating on this attempt to give you a second stimulus package in May, June, July. And by July, we thought, okay, well, one stimulus check, and we're going to not have a check for the month of April, May, and June. Okay, that's really hard thing to swallow. Well, guess what? It's now October, and it's been 6 months since we've not gotten our first stimulus check. And now they want to say, hey, congratulations, you're getting a stimulus check. But forget those 5 months we didn't give you a stimulus check. Oh, and forget what's going on in November and December when the pandemic hits and you may be back on lockdown. You don't have a stimulus check for that either. It ain't going to cut it. MSC. Now, what's important to understand is that this is in the context of what? Nancy Pelosi saying that children going hungry should only have a $500 stimulus check, not $2,000, $500. I mean, what does $500 buy? 2 tanks of gas in a truck? I mean, what does $500 buy? Then she says, adult dependents, my veterans, who she claims to be, an advocate for, veterans who serve this entire country for their entire lifetime and are dependents on their child's tax returns. What are they going to get? They ain't going to get $2,000. They ain't going to get $1,200. They're going to get $500 like a child. That's where enough is enough. Hashtag MSC. The purpose of MSC is to say, hey, we're not going to settle for these watered-down stimulus checks. We're not going to settle for one stimulus check. We're not going to settle for you skipping stimulus packages. This one was supposed to be done in June and July. Now we're on the 3rd, and you're calling it the 2nd, and the 4th one is supposed to be worked on in a few weeks. No. We're calling it MSC. Next, hazard pay. Back on, baby. It's literally back on. Who took it off? Nancy Pelosi. She took it out. She took it out, didn't tell you she took it out, then continued to talk last week and the week before about how she's working so hard for the frontline workers of America and the essential workers. Do you see some smoke? I see some pants on fire. It's just not true. A liar, liar. It's literally not true. She took out the hazard pay. And this is $10,000 to essential workers who worked during the pandemics, whether you're an Uber or Lyft driver, whether you worked at a fast food restaurant, whether you are a Grubhub or a trucker or a grocery worker or a shipper. You need this money. $10,000 would land in your bank account. This is money you're owed. And you know what? We're going into a second wave, a third wave of the pandemic in the next few weeks. And you're supposed to be in that place of work, working just as hard as you've ever worked. And you're not supposed to get a penny more. No, no. Third, retroactive FPUC. Retroactive FPUC. We sit here looking at a bill that the Temple Doom may ultimately only get into law in March of next year under her tracking of waiting for Joe Biden and a Senate flip to the Democratic Party. That would mean the bill would come in March. And by that account, is she going to do retroactive benefits for FPUC back 20-something weeks? Of course not. What is she going to do retroactive FPUC back to? January? Currently, she's played games with the number as well, as has Steve Mnuchin. FPUC was set to expire in July during the vacation of these people. They wrote the bill so it expired during their vacation. And so ultimately what happened was the bill expired to the shock and horror of everyone across the country. FPUC expired in late July, and they said, we'll get to it when we come back to our vacation. It's October. They haven't gotten to it. And guess what they're doing currently now? They're saying, forget about your FPUC in July and August. We'll give you retroactive FPUC to September. Okay, so you just cut me out of 4 weeks. What are you going to do when this bill passes eventually? You're going to cut me out of 8 more weeks? 10 more weeks? Not going to cut it. So finally, before we get to the other new events of this morning, executive orders. This is what's so important. The executive orders, this is where Purple Power needs to really push, and I saw your tweets overnight. They're categorically incredible. What's important to understand is the president is under fire. He's on the ropes. He's struggling to pick up a win. He needs to understand from you that, one, he's behind in the swing states in all of 2 of them. The 2 swing states he's ahead of, it's too small of a margin. It's 2%. It's very tight. 3, there's $800 billion of unused CARES Act 1 and CARES Act 3. Yeah, there was other CARES Acts before we got to this one. PPP money, amounting to $800 billion, unused money that could be repurposed in the same way he repurposed FEMA money for you for LWA. This time around, it's $800 billion. How much would that give you? That would amount to 2.5 stimulus checks of $2,000 each. He needs to do an executive order to send out 2 stimulus checks and get those in the hands of American people before the election. If he does that, he'd have a win. He'd have a win because literally he would flip all those states that he's behind 3% and would either be at a dead heat or slightly ahead. All it has to take is a pen and paper, write the paper, and say, I am sending out stimulus checks of $4,000 to every individual in the United States forthwith. And he picks up the phone, he calls Javita Carranza at SBA and says, hey, that $800 billion is sitting there? You're going to be sending it out with help of Treasury to the American people, and they'll have it in 10 days. It's just so obvious. As some of the viewers said, LALATE, why aren't you his financial advisor? Yeah, anyone would be better than Larry Kudlow as his financial advisor. All right, so let's now turn to the other breaking news this morning, which is quite fascinating. And the one item that's a big deal is that secret bill on Tuesday. What secret bill? If you did not catch Early Morning to LLA, which, boy, is a real blockbuster, 50,000 viewers in just the first 2 hours out of 2 shows in the middle of the night. Totally incredible. Mitch McConnell says the following in his press release that I detailed on Early Morning to LLA. And when I read it on camera, my jaw dropped because I'm like, what is he talking about? Listen carefully to his wording. The Senate will vote on this bill, his bill, this Wednesday. Okay, we got that. Following a standalone vote on additional PPP funds on Tuesday. Excuse me? What? What? Mr. Mukado, is that more stimulus? What is that? Let's read that sentence again. The Senate will vote on this bill Wednesday. Okay, I got it. You're doing your bill Wednesday. They're going to vote on it. Following a standalone vote on additional PPP funds on Tuesday. There's going to be a standalone bill for PPP on Tuesday. Now, what makes this really strange is he says his Wednesday bill will have PPP in there, an entirely new second round of paycheck protection program to save workers at the hardest hit small businesses. Okay, now everything's wrong with the sentence. First of all, we're not on the second round of PPP. We're on almost the fourth round. That's the first thing. The second thing is when he says an entire second round, it sounds like he means he's doing a new round of PPP on Wednesday. So is Tuesday a reapportionment, a repurposing of the existing $800 billion of outstanding PPP as another round on Tuesday as a standalone bill? I hope not. That's your stimulus check money. Don't touch that, Mitch. I don't know what he's doing on Tuesday. Needless to say, I don't want to make you nervous. I just want to say this is really screwy language. And usually Mitch McConnell's pretty good on language, unlike Nancy Pelosi. So that's that. Okay, so stay tuned for Tuesday. That's going to be a real nail biter, what's happening on Tuesday. Next, Lindsey Graham likes big packages. Lindsey Graham said overnight that he doesn't like Mitch's small bill and he wants a big package. The $2.2 trillion package that the House passed doesn't have a penny in it for small business. He's referring to Nancy Pelosi's bill. He's saying that it does not have PPP money in it. I'm continuing the quote, there's no PPP money in it. There's no requirement you have a Social Security number before you get the $1,200. So it'll go to people illegally, most likely. These are statements he made in a pre-recorded interview for Full Court Press with Greta Van Susteren, which will air later today. I'm giving you the pre-recorded transcript. Lindsey Graham thinks that Temple of Doom's proposal has stuff in there that's not COVID-19 related. Amen. He also says that I like the president's bill. Amen. And he also says that Mitch's bill is too small. The $2.2 trillion coming out of the House, Temple of Doom, has a mandate for ballot harvesting. What does that got to do with COVID-19? That's his exact words. It means she has something in there for the census. Remember my joke about census, my census? I have no census for the census. What does the census have to do with COVID-19? It should be in there. And the $1,200 payments, which I support, this is Graham talking, and the $1,200 second stimulus checks, which I support, doesn't require a Social Security number to get it. So a lot of people would go to illegal immigrants. He also says that there's a lot of common ground for what is in bills, and he also says that he supports the problem solvers bill. Oh boy, baby, this is getting good. He says it's important to have some PPP money. It's also important to have some forgivable loan money. It's important to have money for schools. It's important to have unemployment, FPUC, but not at $600 per week, he says. There are some Republicans who don't want to spend anything, he says, Lindsey Graham. I think we need more money, but we don't need policy provisions like the House has in it. Basically, stuff like salary raises. He then says that he has urged the president to look at the Problem Solvers bipartisan $1.5 trillion stimulus relief package as a good place to start. It's time to get together, America, deal with the COVID-19 as we move forward to a vaccine. This is incredibly great news. I don't know at what point he told the president to do that, but ultimately the president did co-sign the Problem Solvers bill. It became the basis of why Purple Power was a big success early on, because we got the president and Steve Mnuchin to say, hey, work off the Problem Solvers bill. We got it done before Nancy even did her $2.2 trillion. This was an ambush by the Purple Power to get the messaging out before she came in. And ultimately the president says, I'm going to do the Problem Solvers bill. That was the starting point. Then Steve Mnuchin went from 1.5 to 1.6. Then he went from 1.6 to 1.8. And now he's at about 1.85. And the president may go to 2. Larry Kudlow, on Friday, more remarks. The president wants a deal. Secretary Mnuchin's negotiating a deal. If Speaker Pelosi wanted a deal, we could round up enough senators who are Republicans to get a deal, he said on Stuart Varney on Friday. Next, I want to give you an example of game playing at its best, or actually, its worst, I guess is the correct expression. If you saw me on Friday record about how those incredible progress was between Steve Mnuchin and Nancy Pelosi, Steve Mnuchin appeared on Squawk Box, on camera, on air, on CNBC. And he said, you know what, we're making incredible progress. She wanted more money for testing and tracing. So you know what? She was having a problem about language. She was having a problem about money. I gave her the money, and then she came back to me and says, I'm having problems with your language. He said, fine, use your own language. I'm going to call her up and say, use your own language. We're done with testing and tracing. Giving you exactly your money. I'm giving you exactly your language. Well, guess what she did on Saturday to press Nancy Pelosi? She just said, yeah, he gave me my money, but he added a few words to the language so we don't have a deal on testing and tracing. Guess what she said on Sunday? She said, you know what? There's still like a few words that are slightly different in here, and hence we have no deal on testing and tracing. That's where it's becoming insanely ridiculous. You are not editing War and Peace, Speaker Pelosi. Your game playing is becoming idiotic. This is what Drew Hamill, her spokesperson of lies, said overnight. While there's some encouraging news on testing and tracing, there remains work to do to ensure that it includes contact tracing and additional measures to address the virus' disproportionate impact on communities. None true. He gave you exact your language. There's no other work to be done on this. This is what Steve Mnuchin had an irate fit about on Friday. He says, the issue's done. I gave her the language. She keeps on saying I didn't give her the thing. And after I gave it to her, she says she still doesn't have it. Hamill says there's still an array of different provisions that must be addressed in the next 48 hours. Decisions must be made by the White House to demonstrate their seriousness about reaching a bipartisan agreement that provides Americans with the greatest needs during the pandemic. This is what Steve Mnuchin really lost it on Friday, which was just Squawk Box. He said, listen, I gave them exactly their language, and I gave them exactly their money, and they're saying I'm not taking the virus seriously. I gave you exactly what you asked for. How am I not taking it seriously? It's this false narrative that people are really sick of. You had 2,000 comments from yesterday. I don't know how many I can get to now because we're running a little bit long on the video. But let me get to some of them, and they were great. I really appreciate them. Rob Nelson, our politicians aren't doing anything. Diane, they're heartless. Sandra Magua, he's rallying out there. He could care less about passing executive order. Untrue. Jen M, there's too many ifs. Mary Mark, man, groceries have went up a lot. Yeah, the grocery stores are just going through the roof. Toby Jordan, it's hard to toast the toast and butter when you don't have money. Johnny Castillo can't even get one check and talk about getting more than one. Lachey, how in the heck are we going to get through this? Mary, let's make some noise, everybody. Glenda, never have I seen so many people hurting so bad. Carlos Pena, he would look weak, but we forgot Pelosi has held us up. And Belladario, the blame game is ridiculous. Amy Rico, we're in trouble. We are homeless. Debbie Carter, please don't use past executive orders that he's done in the past that were from a different situation. No, that comment's just incorrect. His previous LWA order still is in place. Rick, the American dream has been a living nightmare. Jackie, we need MSCs to save our homes and be able to feed our children. Catherine, this is about them and what they've done and what they want, not what we want. Maria, these politicians are millionaires. They don't care about citizens. If you have comments to today's video, drop them in the comments below. I really appreciate the incredible positive attitude, the incredible positive focus, the incredible push, the incredible social media campaign that everyone in the country is looking at. They're looking at you because they're so impressed by how we're getting this closer and closer to finish. Go to the Furnace channel, subscribe, because together as a Purple Power community, we're going to get this through. We're going to get it, and we're going to get everything we want. It takes time, it takes effort, and it takes focus, and we're getting there every step of the way. Also, like this video. Coming up next is 28 with big developments about the polls, where Trump is to get you stimulus, where Mitch is going to do things next week and how that impacts everything, and more. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, and stay LA for more.